This is a method to make clean water from dirty water by steam distillation. When a pot of clean or dirty water is heated, the water boils to make clean steam, which usually just escapes into the atmosphere. If you put a lid on the pot, it now traps the steam inside. So we need to find a way to remove that steam and turn it back into liquid again. We start by half filling a pot with dirty water. We put a lid on top which has a hole in it. We can put a pipe up through this hole, which then leads down to a collecting cup. When we heat the water, it produces steam, which escapes through the pipe and out into the atmosphere. But now a little bit drips into the container. So if we cool the pipe with a bag of cold water, for example, when the steam goes through this colder section of pipe, it turns back into a liquid more easily and collects in the container much faster. This version is made from these parts. It includes the two key elements: the condensation pipe, which comes out of the lid and slopes down to a collecting cup, and the cooling system, which turns the steam into clean water. Tools needed. We need punches like these or something similar that can make holes in metal, a hammer, a block of wood to hammer on, a screwdriver, a metal cutting saw, or a pipe cutter. Making the condensation pipe. You need about 1 meter of metal pipe. If you can find it, it's best to use copper pipe because it's easier to cut and bend, and they're often found in houses connecting the taps to the water supply. You can use other types of metal pipe as well, like steel, but they may be more difficult to work with, although they are easy to find because they are often used in furniture, products, domestic fixtures, and in building construction. Silicone hose like this is safe to use for food and drink and doesn't get damaged by boiling water. It's very flexible, simple to cut, and stretches very easily. These black hoses are made from EPDM rubber. This one came from a broken car. They usually have a layer of fabric inside which makes them strong and flexible. They're usually fairly safe to use with boiling water. This type of clear PVC plastic hose is quite common. They're hard and stiff when they're cold, but too soft and flexible when they get hot, so they're no use with boiling water. If they're exposed to flames, they're likely to burn. So will this type. They're often made from PVC as well, and are usually used in gardens. Cheap, low-quality ones get easily damaged by hot or boiling water. Try to avoid using both of these last two types. Silicone hoses like this is ideal, but it's more expensive than the others, so it's more difficult to find, unlike EPDM hoses, which can be easily found in old, damaged or wrecked cars. We're going to look for some rubber hose from the engine of a broken or old car. This tank is usually filled with a coloured liquid. It can be pink, orange, red, blue, green, or yellow-green. Green or yellow-green liquid is the most toxic. It's usually easy to take a hose that comes from the white plastic tank here or from the radiator here. This hose is too narrow, but there's another one at the bottom of this tank. Don't use other hoses because they're often used for oil or other chemicals. We can make use of this one because it's a bit wider than the pipe we have. Hoses are usually attached using clips which can be pulled, unscrewed or broken off. Clips can then be reused if the hose you have is not a tight fit around your pipe. You'll need a pot with a lid. The handle is usually fixed with a rivet or screw, but it can be punched out or unscrewed. Make a hole the same size as your pipe and flatten the edges of the hole. The best lids to use are made from aluminium simply because they're easier to cut and shape. We also need 2 small pieces of pipe. You can use a pipe cutter like this to cut the copper pipe, or a hacksaw for that, or steel pipe. The pipes now need to be bent. Slightly dent them first. Again, copper pipe is best for this. Find something that you can use as levers to put in either end of the pipe and bend it. But not too much. Water and steam still need to pass through them without difficulty. Make the ends of the pipe a little narrower so when you push them into the hose they make a good strong tight fit. You need 2 small pieces of rubber hose to hold a pipe in the lid and 2 more to join the other pipes together. The small pieces of hose need to be firmly placed around the bent pipe on the inside and outside of the lid. This stops the steam escaping from when the pipe goes through the lid. Before using the hose, clean it to make sure there are no chemicals inside. This will transfer into the drinking water. This is especially true for oil or organic materials in the hose, the pipe, and the water itself, where oil will easily vaporize and transfer into the clean water. This pipe is new, so it still has copper dust inside it. Warming the rubber hose in hot water will make it a bit more flexible so it goes on the pipe more easily. A little bit of soap might also help. When joining pipes, keep a minimum distance between them. The hoses might still be contaminated and we need to reduce the contact area as much as possible. Cooling the pipe. Fill the plastic bags with cold water and close them so they can be opened later and refilled with cold water again. Fill them to halfway and take out all the air so they remain flexible. To save fuel, the hot water from the used bags can also be used in the pot. Additional parts. If the lid is a bit loose and lets out too much steam, make a seal with some cotton fabric. Use the lid as a guide. Cut a bit extra on the outside and quite a lot on the inside, because the seal will become loose as it gets wet. Fill the pot to halfway to allow space for the steam to form. Make sandbags to add weight to the lid to keep it down and the steam inside. They can also be used to support the condensation pipe and the cold water bags because they tend to be quite stable. Assembling the distiller. The condensation pipe needs to be held up to allow the lid to sit firmly on the pot to stop the steam escaping. The cold water bags can easily fall off, so make sure you support them properly. The bags need to make as much contact with the pipe as possible to turn the maximum amount of steam to water. If the bags are exposed to flames, protect them by wrapping them in wet cloth. You can do the same to the rubber hose. Be careful when changing the cooling bags. The pipe and bags get quite hot quite quickly, reaching 75 degrees Celsius or more, enough to cause burns. If bags slide down and cover the end of the pipe, steam can build up under the bag and then release suddenly. This can easily cause burns, especially on children. Do not use at least the first cup. Make sure the water also looks clean before consuming it. I've made the water dirty to show that clean water comes out. This is a prototype water purification system designed to be used in emergency situations only, using tools and materials that are immediately available. There are hazards involved in making and using it, so you need to use your own common sense and judgment when making it with materials and tools you have. Seek help if you are unable to do it yourself.